right, so we'll find our way to seated if you already are there. Great. Just take a few moments adjusting yourself to kind of perfect your seated position so that you're really dialing down unnecessary effort and you're feeling the alignment that shows up as ease in your body, supporting your spine, using the base of the legs, the hips, the groins, the feet, the shins. And just kind of feeling that three-pronged connection of your sitting bones, your tailbone. And then with the shoulders back, the chest lifted and spread, joining the hands in front of your heart. Closing your eyes and just taking a few moments to sit quietly and to notice. So a big piece of what I love about this practice of yoga is that we really start to tune into the art of giving attention, paying attention. Without asserting our own ideas about everything, we can just kind of listen and notice and observe. If you find that in that observation there's some hidden agenda, just see what happens when you let go of bringing any sort of qualifying ideas into your witnessing, just kind of noticing without all the extra liking, disliking, attaching. And here inviting maybe a sort of wish or intention into your heart. This practice is really going to be to reflect back on our year and also to look forward. As you feel ready, bowing toward your heart. Let your hands release down. When you're ready, raise your head. Let your eyes gently come open. Welcome. And so the first segment of our class today is really going to be about identifying and offsetting the tensions we've accumulated throughout the year. We are human beings, we're very resilient, we're very good at coping, and we've all been doing a lot of coping. So we're gonna do some poses initially to offset a lot of that tension we've accumulated, to discharge the tension from the body. So we're gonna be coming onto our backs and we're gonna use a strap and blanket for your head if you like to have one. And we're gonna do 3 of the Padangusthasana, but with strap support, to make the poses a little bit less effortful so that we can pay attention to the body, letting go of that effort in its own time. So the first Padangusthasana, we will use the open strap to the right foot. And then letting out as much slack as you need to raise your arms. Hopefully your strap is long enough to raise your arms overhead. In the Urdhva Hastasana position, so your arms are parallel, they're extended overhead. Your hands are separated, shoulder distance wide. And your leg is straight, of course. So if you're seeing a bent knee, try to let out more slack in your strap so that you can find your straight leg. But then the strap should also be taut so that you're right at your edge physically. Your chin is angled down. You have some attention in your left leg being anchored to the floor, straight and aligned, your kneecap pointing up. As you need more, you're just going to kind of cinch up the strap. Pay attention to your breath, remaining smooth and steady. And with your exhalations, maybe just imagining that you're discharging excess tension in your body, that you've been carrying to get through. So today we're talking about this tension. And another word for tension is effort. It is contraction also. And so the coping effort energy is tension we didn't necessarily ask for. We got through, we're getting through, as we do. We were just kind of releasing that gripping from the body so that we can make room for intentional effort in the coming year. And just 3 more breaths here. So try not to be in a striving way for this first segment of the class. If you want to strive, you can save that for part 2. You can start to release the right leg, step the foot down. You're going to do the very same thing on the left side. So you're just kind of creating the environment for your body to soften. Sometimes when we do this pose, we're really striving. We're in a very intense stretch. You felt in the hamstring, maybe the calf muscle, maybe the back. So don't go to that point here. Go to the point where you feel that the body is softening. And your breath will tell you, if you can't sense it physically, the breath will tell you. If the breath is shallow, you're kind of overworking. So watch the breath. Create an atmosphere for smooth, steady breath. And Kathleen, if you can get the knee straighter, then try to do that. Somebody just sent me an email this morning that was a picture of the Tin Man, and it said 3 days without yoga. And I really feel like this year we've all kind of become the Tin Man just because there has been so much to deal with and to survive. So we're restoring our suppleness here, letting go of contraction or effort that we don't necessarily need anymore. And just 3 more breaths. And now you're going to start to release. We're going to be taking our right leg over to the right for Parshva Padangustasana, but we're going to be working with the loop in the belt. So you're going to feed the strap through the rings and you'll hold the foot just with that little loop. And then you can put that loop on your right foot. And then you're going to run the strap underneath your neck from right side to left side. And extend your left arm completely perpendicular from the trunk off to the left. And then your right hand can guide your strap, so you can slide your right hand up. And once you have all that, extend your left leg and start to move the right leg to the right. But you're really observing that you're staying very evenly anchored across the lower back, connected with the floor. We're not trying to roll to our right side. So let balance be your main objective here rather than how far you carry that leg. And it might be helpful to wrap the left hand if you're using unnecessary effort in the hand to grip. I'm getting all tangled here in my strap, but watch that you're not gripping in the hand and inviting tension into the body. And just find a pose that feels like a big opportunity for your breath and for spaciousness to find its way back into your body. Try to keep your right shoulder anchored to the floor. And the more you can extend and open the upper inner thigh of the right leg, the deeper your breaths will flow. Last 3 breaths. And gently carry the leg back to center. We'll do Parsvapadangustasana on the left side now, so you can start to set up the strap over to the left foot. And you'll be running the strap from the left back of your neck over to the right. Extending your right arm out to the side. And then using your left hand to guide up the strap a ways. Extend your right leg. And then watching the lower back, start to move that leg out to the side. Notice how the body opens in its own time. You might have a different edge on this side than you have on the right. Just be open to what shows up here. And be just as concerned with your own experience of the pose as you are with the shape of the pose. Be just as interested in your breath as you are with how extended your right or left leg is. And then of course check in, are you offsetting tension? Are you inviting more tension? Just a couple more waves of breath. Try to use the fulcrum point of your left leg as you guide your leg back to center. And now we'll finish with Parivrikapadangustasana, which is revolving the pose. So we'll take the strap back to the right foot. Because we're carrying the right leg to the left, you're going to be running your strap from left to right underneath the neck. So again, your strap is on your right foot, but you're running your strap from the left side of the neck to the right. You're going to extend your right arm off to the side. You can keep your left leg bent as you carry your right leg to the left and get your hips stacked right above left. And then you can wiggle and straighten the left leg out so that you have that 90-degree shape with your legs or close enough. And then you're going to roll your head so that you're either looking up or over to the right. And really reach out through your right arm and use that to bring some equanimity into this pose. The bottom leg, you're going to soften. Another class, you might keep that bottom leg really active. Today, just soften the bottom leg. And if you feel like your right sole of your foot is coming onto the floor, try to put the inner edge of the right foot against the floor. We don't want to lose the lengthening process of the inseam of the leg. So you want to keep reaching out through the instep of your right foot. Think about every exhalation, the right outer ribs floating back toward the floor. And notice where you're still gripping, resistant, holding back, tightened, contracted. And just see what happens when you let go. There's intentional effort, there's our default setting of gripping. They're two different things. Just waiting a few more breaths. This is a big pose. Giving it some time is always a good idea. You want to come out gently because this is a big old twist for your back. So start by bending your right knee. Maybe step the left foot back onto the floor. And then you can find your way onto your back and just switch your strap over to left foot. And then take a moment to realign yourself on the floor so your spine feels even, you're spacious between your hips and shoulders. You can keep your right foot grounded. We're going to be running the strap now from the right side to the left. So the left arm reaches out, the right hand is going to guide up the strap a ways. You can keep that right knee bent as you help yourself roll onto your right hip. Maybe straighten out that right leg once your hips are stacked and you're in that revolving hand to big toe pose. Maybe you'll keep it bent. We really want to just pay attention to the body receiving this pose, the opportunity that is here. And either gazing up at the ceiling or off to the left. Siphoning off the accumulated tension that lives in the body. Sometimes we're not even aware of it. We've gotten used to it. So reclaiming your space, your freedom, your sense of ease. Opening space in the body to the breath. Three more breaths. And you're going to help yourself back to center, maybe bending that top leg knee easier on the back, using your right foot to help you adjust your hips back onto the floor evenly. Remove your strap. And you'll just take a moment, extending your legs, extending your arms, be entirely passive in your body, like a mini Shavasana. Go ahead and help yourself to your side. Before you do, we're going to come into pigeon pose next to release tension from the hips. So if you prefer to do this pose on your back in the figure 4 version, that's going to be for you. You'll stay here. Otherwise, we're going to be coming onto our hands and knees. So you have to decide what you're going to do here. And just make sure you have a blanket or two available nearby if you need to tuck something under your hip. So we're going to start the pose kind of walking from table pose to the top of the mat. And then walk yourself right off your mat. Because right knee is going to be, because right hip is going to be the first to go, we're going to extend the left leg straight back, which helps you sit into that deep right hip flexion. And then you can wiggle the right shin to become more parallel with the top of the mat. And then this is where you'll fill in the negative space, giving yourself utmost support. And you want to do that because otherwise we're going to be using our own effort to keep ourselves here. And the idea is to let go of the effort, not to invite more effort right now. So you might need more than a blanket. You might use a bolster instead, depends how much space is there. But before we come down into the forward fold, we start in a little back bend and we just try to create evenness across the hips and shoulders. And we're trying to move the tailbone into the front body, trying to roll the shoulders back, bring a nice amount of space to the front body. And then we're going to carry that into the forward bend, come to the top of an in-breath, lengthen forward, and then create a little platform for your forehead so that your neck is really long and even. You're not dunking your head to touch the floor. And if you haven't done a hip opener in a while, you haven't done this pose in a while, you're waiting out reflexes in the body they're contracted energy. So you're not going to be enjoying this huge experience of a hip opener immediately. You have to wait out some of the body's initial response, which is to contract and resist. So that's where we can start to play with lengthening out the breath, settling where we're still kind of not feeling settled. And soothing the nervous system with the forehead grounded is also very helpful. So a lot of our sense of freedom lives in our hips. When the hips become very tight, we start to feel less and less free as human beings, as individuals. So offsetting the tension, reclaiming a sense of kind of liberation or freedom in the body and the spirit. You can find more depth in this pose by wiggling that left leg kind of beyond where it is, or inching the right shin forward, or shifting weight over to your straight leg side hip. We're going to bring a little twist into this in a moment, so just taking 3 more breaths. And now lift your head and just kind of cross the left arm in front of you on your mat, left forearm. Kathleen, you can stay where you are. You can take your right hand onto your right knee or thigh and just kind of turning your chest to the right, welcoming a little rotation along the spine, also digging into your right hip just a little bit more, but in a friendly way that's still hopefully soft in that area. Try not to take a nap on your left shoulder, so keep a good amount of pressure in your forearm that's on the floor. Keep peeling the chest into the sunlight, away from the floor. Good. And now keeping the length of the spine, come out of that deep rotation, turn back to the floor. We're going to try to prop ourselves on our left knee and extend the right leg straight back like you're going into sunbird. You just really want to keep the leg straight. We want to get the knee out of any rotation we didn't intend for. Toes pointing down. And then go ahead and step down. You can come into that table pose, walking yourself off the mat again, just with the hands. So that left knee stays forward. We're going to slide the right leg straight back. Bring your hands onto your mat at that point and just kind of wiggle the left shin. So it's kind of crossing in front of you. It's almost looking more parallel with the edge of the mat. And then filling in the area between left hip and the floor. And this could be different for a lot of us. The hips don't match with their tension. And then you're going to prop yourself up on your fingertips. Try to create evenness across the hip line, the shoulder line. Take the tailbone into the body, yawning open the right front thigh, extending from the tailbone all the way out through the top of your head. And then carry that length forward, propping the forehead with your hands or fists or a prop. And settling into those initial moments of really meeting the pose. Meeting the pose, meeting where you are in the pose. Letting the breath touch the pose. Noticing that initial tensing against the pose that the body does naturally. And then start to see if you can, like you're thawing out in the left hip. Maybe things start to settle we start to surrender a little bit. There's resistance is kind of going away. And maybe for you, the right hip flexor is where you're feeling this more. Think about that concave area becoming more convex. Lengthening the front thigh. Tracking your edge, wiggling the left shin forward, extending the right leg back, shifting weight to the right. All these ways we can keep pursuing that perfect amount of sensation. And just visualize that siphoning off, like you're draining your hip of all this accumulated kind of stickiness, tension, glued up areas, tightness, limited feeling, mobility, limited. Just send the breath there, send some spaciousness, some light, visualize the softening into the hip space. And now we'll come into the twisting part of the pose. So you can just start to bring your forehead up and cross the right forearm across the mat. Take your left hand onto your knee or thigh, and just start to revolve your torso in a really long way from the tailbone to the crown, turning gently to the left. And there's a big opportunity for breath to enter the left hip space, for attention to deepen there. Every inhale, grow the length of your spine. We'll do 3 more inhales. Lengthen, like you're gently tugging. There's a rope at the top of the head. You're lengthening all the way up from the tailbone. And then after that third inhale, you're going to just gently start to turn back toward the floor. We can prop ourselves on our right knee and just extend the left leg straight back. Level with the floor, toes pointed down. Your quads are engaged enough that your kneecap stabilizes and aligns. Really pressing through the heel, the ball mound to the toes. Nice deep breath. And then we'll come into seated position from here. So you can sit on a blanket. We're going to start to work toward Gomukhasana. And we'll begin with the right shin in front of the left shin. So there are definitely levels we can work with here. And we all have our own needs. So most mild is going to be just right shin in front of left, cross-legged position. If you want to enhance that, you can just prop the right foot if you need a little more. If you're able to go farther, you're going to be stacking your shins so your legs look like a triangle. You'll have your right knee over your left foot. You'll have your right foot over your left knee. And then if you can go farther than that, you would stack your knees. So you have to just kind of feel where you are with the right side here. So if you did go as far as stacking your knees, make sure to adjust the weight of the sitting bones so that you don't sit heavily on one side and light on the other. Try to make it more even. And we're going to just do a forward bend here just to help us lean into that hip opener. So you'll be on your fingertips and just kind of walk them forward from wherever you've chosen your position for your legs. And the idea is not to uproot the buttocks. So imagine your butt has Velcro and you're trying not to tear the Velcro. Oh, you're trying to keep your butt on the floor. Bow the head so the neckline stays neutral. And again, put enough pressure in your fingers that you're not turning into a turtle. So you want to keep your neck length. You want to keep your shoulders down. And you want to keep the extension of the spine fluid, not collapsed. And just kind of give the shape, lend the function of the shape to the hip opening experience. Both hips are getting some sensation here. Combing through the tension with your own breath. Again, there's that initial resistance, even though we've been through a hip opener on each side already. So we're just kind of patiently observing the initial reaction in the body. We're giving it some breath, some time. When we do yoga more passively, we can address tension that exists in the connective tissue of the body. And for many of us, we have a great deal of tension in the fascia. I especially notice a big release in the fascia of my outer hips in this pose. So we're going to start to walk the hands in so that we can set up the upper body for Gomukhasana. So however you've built up the legs, you're going to keep that. And for most of us, we work with a strap in this pose. If you know you can connect your hands directly, you don't need a strap. But if you're going to work with a strap, you'll have it in your left hand. And we'll extend the arm up and try to touch the spine with the fingertips or the strap. And just do your best to align that top elbow with your shoulder, but also feel the extension from the armpit all the way up through the elbow. So there's really clean upward energy there. And then you'll extend the right hand out to the side, thumb down, internal shoulder rotation to swing the arm and catch the strap or connect your hands. And then try to press your head against your top arm so that we don't misalign the skull. Close your eyes. And just keep sending your attention down, down, down in the body. Attention will continue to try to lift up into the upper body, and your eyes you might feel rolling up in your head. And keep your gaze pointed down, your attention low in the body. Making those finely tuned adjustments to refine your pose, to refine your own experience in your pose. In the poses, when we've mastered them, it really feels like a global experience of cooperating. So maybe running kind of a scan. See what maybe isn't cooperating here. And once you find it, you should be able to create a better experience in the pose. We'll start to release the arms first. And you can stretch your legs out in front of you for Dandasana, just to kind of take care of the knees and any tension in the legs. You can release the arms if you need to. We'll set up side two. Again, it could be different. So we'll just go into the mildest version, left shin in front of right. Again, from there, if you need a little bit more, you could elevate the foot, that left foot. Otherwise, you'll start to move into what's called the log stacking position, where you put your shins on top of each other. And from there, you might be able to align the knees, making that pose more compact. So just finding your way here. And again, take care of the sitting bones. If you feel imbalanced, try to create more evenness across the sitting bones. We'll come into the forward bend first, just to really get the anchoring of the legs going and to feel the hips more deeply. So walk your hands forward, pressurize the fingertips, bow the head, and try to pull weight back into your seat rather than uprooting your seat. And you might, over time, be able to creep your hands farther ahead and keep the seat down. We're starting to move into more of the second part of the class here, which is once we've offset the unnecessary tension in the body, we can start to invite a little tension that's intentional. We all have experienced burnout sometime in our life, and oftentimes burnout is it's a result of not offsetting that accumulated tension. We have no room to do any more. Just a few more breaths here, really establishing your legs as anchors, your hips are surrendered, hopefully, or getting there. Just start to creep the hands back in until you're upright again. And we'll work with the right arm being the top arm. So again, use your strap if you need it. Extend the arm up. Revolving the arms so your palm faces back, touch your spine. And as you crawl your hands or strap down the spine, extend up through the elbow. Align the elbow with the shoulder. Bring the left arm out sideways, thumb down. And then really try to keep that upper arm high as you swing the arm and catch your strap or hook the hands together. The elbows like to curl forward here, so take them back toward an imaginary wall. Pull your head back, close your eyes. So now we're inviting some intentional effort in the body, the upper body. But this comes as a result of the work we've done down below. Feeling surrendered, feeling anchored, grounded, connected. And notice how energy likes to fly up. So keep just looking down. The next 3 breaths, just really focused on the breath. And start to release the pose. You can open your eyes, release the arms, extend your legs out in front of you. Press your legs into the floor, maybe release the arms out to the sides and revolve the arms a few times if you need a little extra release in the arms. We're going to come into Adho Mukha Svanasana, which is downward dog with head support. So this is where you might use a bolster. You might use a block and a blanket. You might just use a block if you have a softer block. And make sure your hands are just the appropriate spacing. So if you're using a block or a bolster, you're running it the vertical way so you don't have to widen your hands a lot. And you'll come into your pose so that the crown of the head is supported. The arms are straight. Make sure you have the appropriate height for head support. This is a pose of effort. So we are contracting ourselves, but with intention. Lifting the hips away from the shoulders, extending and opening the backs of our legs. Moving the shoulder blades into the chest. Gathering the inner front ribs and hugging them together and pulling them back gently. And again, just kind of do a body scan and see what is not on board, maybe not cooperating. When we have that global experience of the body working in harmony, we feel very pleasant in our poses. So if you're not feeling pleasant, just kind of look around and see maybe what could be a little bit more refined.
Now start to walk your hands and feet together. And just kind of broaden the stance of the feet so they're a little bit wider. We'll come into Uttanasana. So just make sure your feet are second toes aligning with heels. Your weight is balanced above your feet. So you're not all in the heels, you're not all in the toes. Your legs are as straight as you can make them. Remember, the legs are really the stems, the strong stems of this pose so that the torso can cascade forward. If your hands press on the floor, just flip the palms up or grab the elbows so that you feel like you can continue extending. Let your head just dangle. So the legs in an effort state and the upper body receives the benefit there. We get to be very passive in the torso and the skull and neck. If you're crossing your arms, take the last few moments with the alternate crossing of the arms. And drop your hands. We're going to come up, take hold of your hips. Once you're up, take a moment to stand in mountain pose, joining the feet, joining the legs. There is very precise effort in this pose, but also one of the artful pieces of this pose that we learn is where we don't need to apply effort. So relax your face, drop your shoulders, unhinge your jaw, smooth out the brow line. Feel your face kind of floating toward the back of the head. Finding that outer body compactness that lends to that inner feeling of spaciousness. And now we'll come into Prasarita Padottanasana, wide standing forward bend with head support. So you might use the same setup you did for downward facing dog. You might need to adjust and create a different amount of height. So just find your way into the shape of that pose and take a moment to just find the right setup. And then once you have it, you're going to make sure to watch your feet, that they're parallel, that the toes are forward. Again, balance your feet. Some of us cling to our toes, some of us dump all our weight in our heels. So you're really centering your weight. Broaden the soles of the feet, extend the pinky toes away from the big toes, and then find your way to grounding the crown. So we're combining the effort of the legs with the passivity of the torso once again. Maybe noticing we're much more willing to exert some effort when we've cleared the excess effort from the body and work we've done before this moment. Meeting the opportunity, maybe the ankles are talking to you. Are you resisting the opening there? Are you embracing it? Very fine line between the two. Just 3 more breaths here. If your head needs to come down, you're going to make sure you're allowing room for that to happen. We start to make our way out by lifting the head, helping the feet come back together. And we're going to set up for Shirshasana, headstand. And if you're going to substitute Shirshasana, you could come back to a head supported standing forward bend, which is a good substitute. You could work on the building blocks of Shirshasana without coming into the full inversion. So you might work with the setup and the leg extension. Otherwise, you'll be coming into your full headstand, which I have to avoid today, but I will be watching you guys. Finding the rightful effort of this pose. Beautiful. Nice, Kathleen. Good, John. Lifting the legs up, driving the elbows into the floor. And again, notice if the whole body is working in harmony and unison. Try to have equally long front ankles and the backs of your ankles. Feel your mountain pose turned upside down. Take your tailbone deeper into the front body, Lynn. Good. Watch out for the sickling of the feet, Rebecca. There. Keep your low back long, John. Pull the inner front ribs together and back to help you lengthen the low back. Good. We're going to come into child's pose. So starting to make your way out of Shirshasana into Balasana. And to fully surrender the shoulders, once you're in child's pose, you're going to take your hands back next to your feet. And even here in this pose that we know to be very grounding, soothing, quiet, and passive,
there can still be a baseline of gripping or resistance. So check in, run that body scan, look around. And it should feel as if you're becoming heavier. Siphoning off the effort. So while you're here, we're gonna kind of do a little creative exercise. Think of something that you want for yourself for the coming year. So finding something, anything, it could be a word, a phrase, it could be an image, could be an activity, could be anything you want for yourself. You're going to embrace it fully, you're going to imagine it, and we're going to take bridge pose and be very intentional with the effort of that pose, while kind of holding this idea we want for ourselves in our minds at the same time. And so if you have trouble clasping your hands in bridge pose, and even if you can do that, and your arms, I'll show you if they don't fully extend when you clasp, you see my hands are raised or your elbows widen. What we want to see is that we clasp and can keep the hands down, the arms extended. So if you're not able to do that, you're going to work with the strap so that you can achieve that straight arm full extension. Otherwise, you're clasping. So have a strap or not. You'll come onto your back and just walk your feet in. Heels close to sitting bones, toes in front of heels. Take a few moments with each leg to really get them nice and close. Once you do that, try to re-extend the flesh of the buttocks from upper to lower, so you're flattening out the low back. And then on an exhale, just lift your hips high enough you can start to prepare either grabbing the strap between the hands or clasping your hands. And now when you're in the effortful pose, just thinking of the thing, the word, the phrase, the idea, the vision, the intention, the goal, the hope, the wish. Breathing into it, breathing life into it, bringing it from the subconscious mind into your conscious mind, intentionally, very powerful act you can do. And finding places where you don't need to be tensed, the face, the throat, the jaw. The buttocks should be somewhat softened. Three more breaths here. And then if you're clasping, separate the hands. If you're holding the strap, release it. Start by bringing the shoulders out from under you and begin to walk your spine down slowly. And when your spine is down, hips are down, sacrum is down, lift your feet and just take a moment to massage your lower back, circling the knees. Good. Okay. We're going to set up for plow pose. We're going to take plow pose into shoulder stand. So we want to have the same setup. And personally, I always use a chair for plow pose for my toes because my toes don't go to the floor without my back collapsing. It's just something I've learned to adapt for my practice. So you're free to use a chair for your feet. If you don't know, I suggest you start with a chair and you can always kind of push it out of the way if you don't think you need it. And then you'll set up like you're setting up for shoulder stand. So your blanket set up, your strap if you use one. Shoshana, feel free to modify. You could take Situ Bandha Sarvangdasana if you remember that one with the blocks under your heels and your sacrum. Or you could take legs up the wall pose. So it does take some effort and momentum to, of course, get the legs not only up, but over, because we're doing plow pose first. And so I like to use a block to help me support the lower back. So I'm at least halfway off the ground to start with. And if you use a strap, you'll just have it ready and hanging on the one arm. Okay. Well, you're going to find your way, leaving just a little bit of room from the shoulder line to the edge of the blanket so you can not roll off your blankets. We don't want to do that. And then you take a little bit of momentum and just bring the legs up and over. The toes come to the floor or the seat of the chair. You shouldn't need your strap just yet. You can start with the arms either extended away from the head side or toward it. And the idea here is to get the legs really straight, to help lift the spine, to help move the hips in line with the shoulders. The chin and chest are snuggled together. This pose can feel scary for some. It can feel like a cozy little cocoon for others. But it is designed to be very quieting and soothing to the nervous system. If you're going to use your strap for shoulder stand, you can start to hook the other arm into the loop, and you can start to find your hands climbing toward the dorsal spine, and then you can raise the legs. So this pose is considered the queen of all the asanas. And it's really beneficial to almost every system in the body. So that's why it's included in every single Iyengar practice, as is Shirshasana, the king of all the asanas. Lifting with your legs, keeping a sense of spaciousness along the spine. Using the hands to help the shoulder blades into the body, keep the chest lifted and spread. And rather than tensing your thigh muscles, soften the thigh muscles and try to think about the backs of your thighs absorbing the fronts of your thighs. The sense organs start to pull away from the outer world here. We start to involute. We go within. You're going to be coming back to plow pose. So slowly bringing the feet down again to the chair or the floor. And then removing the strap and reaching the arms up overhead. Slowly bringing yourself back to the floor. And once you're there, shifting away from the setup so that your shoulders and head come down. Your feet can sit on the floor or the block, the blankets, either crossing the ankles or taking bound angle shape, joining the soles of your feet. And just resting in whatever remains, whatever is left. Noticing how we rest in a sweeter way after some applied intentional effort that we willfully created. As you feel ready, you can help yourself to your side. We'll set up for pranayama. And we're going to work with 2 different pranayamas today. One will be down regulating the nervous system and one will be up regulating. So we can kind of follow the trend of this class. First by offsetting tension, then by really welcoming a fresh kind of new intention. So we're going to stack 2 blankets and it's the kind of the zigzag S shape or Z shape. And these are shorter ones. So if you have a longer torso, you can make those same zigzags with the opened up blanket. You're going to make 2 of them. And then you'll set up a little tiered blanket setup. So you have the first blanket and then the second blanket. And the mat, of course, is flat. So we're going to be putting the butt down, flat on the floor, as the lower back also won't be touching any blanket. The first blanket kind of touches the lowest ribs. And this is where you have to adjust for your own proportions. So the second blanket should be starting kind of right behind the breastbone. And then we want to take the excess blanket and just kind of roll it so that your head is tilted forward, so your chin and chest come together. This is the pranayama Jalandhara Bandha, which means we're kind of sealing that highest aperture of the spine. We're really connected with the Sushumna nadi, the system of energy along the spine. We're trying to just kind of cap it, conserving the energy right up to the base of the skull. So you should be able to sense when you have it, your lower back is long, your buttocks are pulled away from the lower back. You might need to adjust there. Your chest is lifted and your head is tilted forward. And so just close your eyes once you're there and just become a witness to your breath, that whatever the breath is, just notice it. So we're going to work with Viloma, which means against the hair. It's an interrupted exhale. We're going to be interrupting the exhale for this first practice to extend the exhalation, to downregulate the nervous system, to soothe and quiet ourselves. So just a reminder about Viloma, we're not going to include Ujjayi breathing, so you're not going to be tightening the throat muscle also. You're just going to work with interrupting the exhale. And it's going to be 3 segments, although when you practice this, it can become as many segments as you can condition for. But we'll just do 3 segments, which means 2 interruptions. And you're going to try to let the breath out in those 3 equal parts. So we'll start with a full inhale, full exhale, normal breath. Another inhale, and then you can begin with your first round of the interrupted exhale, and make sure to take a full cycle of breath in and out once you do that first attempt. The pauses, the 2 pauses, are very brief. You're just kind of immobilizing the diaphragm just for a pause. Cycling into another easy round of breath, and you're going to make these attempts. It doesn't have to be every other, it doesn't have to be every single one, intuitively. So the idea is that we keep the brain very kind of quiet with pranayama. We don't want to be agitating or trying to do something willfully. This is a quieting practice. And making those attempts, those 3 segments of exhale, the 2 pauses, as many more times as you feel is right for you. If you're still with the practice, let's go for one more round. The Loma exhale. I had a teacher once describe this breathing practice as riding a gondola. We've all kind of hopefully been on a chairlift, and when it stops, and then it starts again, and then it stops. So we just did the downhill gondola. Now we're going to think about the uphill gondola. We're going to work with inhale, interrupted inhale. Same idea, 3 segments, 2 pauses, and your own frequency. So you really have to self-guide the rhythm that works for you. And we'll start again, full inhale, full exhale. And then you can begin with those 3 segments of in-breath, riding the gondola up, pause, up, pause, up, top of the hill, exhale all the way down. You can think about filling your lungs, bringing the top of the breath all the way to the chest. It spreads like a fountainhead. This is an exciting breath, so keep your gaze pointed down, and if you're still with it, another round. Make sure to come back to easy breathing, breath observation, the automatic breathing. And we'll just adjust quietly off the blanket support so that we can take Shavasana with the torso lying flat and the lung tissue neutral again. Feel yourself sinking into the floor, fully surrendered physical body. We'll start to take a few deeper breaths, gently drawing ourselves out of this pose. Maybe start to move the limbs, bending those major joints, and then finding your way to one side. And from your side, you'll help yourself to seated. We're going to do just a little bit of a sit here before we close. So finding your really stable, supported, aligned, seated position. We'll take Jnana Mudra, which is the meditative mudra of joining the thumb tip and the index fingers, extending the other 3 fingers, and you're resting the backs of your hands or wrists against your knees or thighs. And when you pressurize that, you can feel an invitation to pull the chest forward, to move the shoulder blades in, to roll the shoulders back. And keeping your gaze pointed down. Mudras are hand positions that direct the flow of energy, and this mudra is designed to support a meditative mind. Just sitting with the effects of your practice for another few breaths. As you prepare to move the hands, try to keep your chest as it is. And join the hands together in front of your heart, extending the fingertips slightly out away from yourself, and using the base of the thumbs to press up on the breastbone. Let's take a deep breath in through the nose and let it go. From the place within me that I know to be divine, I honor that place within each of you. Happy New Year to all of you. So at this point, this is our last level 2 class until further notice. But we will have the 30-day challenge going starting January 1st. If you want to join me, I would love to have you participate. And we will have Monday and Friday continuing 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock as usual. So I'll see you guys soon. Thank you. I'll see you at 3 o'clock, Rebecca.